Actually, why don't we ask that of Mayuresh Joshi, who has just joined us. We still have to finish our technical picks, but Mayuresh, just to get this point out of the way, how will Wipro do today in spite of the disappointment? Do you think the buyback price of 625 will keep it in the green?
Morning, Lata. I think the buyback price that has got announced might act as a support from a short-term perspective, but it has failed miserably on numerous counts. The dollar revenue guidance that is probably meted out for the first quarter, I think much below expectations. What it basically delivered, even in dollar terms, for the quarter gone by. I think analysts were expecting much more to come through from Wipro. And if you look at the two main service lines, the business application service, this technological infrastructure services, which accounts close to 46 and 24%. Those service lines are not growing. If you look at the core business domains that they operate out of, BFSI energy still looks under a tremendous amount of pressure. So the EBIT margin specifically on the global IT services was very much in line, but clearly I think the stock will continue underperformance, basically to do with what has happened with its business line, its service offerings, and that will probably have a toll in terms of the price movement going forward. In terms of the short-term movement of the stock, I think the buyback might act as a support, but I think the core business needs to improve, which I don't see happening. So I think the underperformance of Wipro compared to the large cap IT peers will just continue over the next few quarters as well.
Okay, so Wipro will continue to underperform compared to the other IT players. Mayuresh, morning. What about Equitas? That's the big listing that's going to take place today. What is your house recommending on the stock? And post-listing, what kind of an upside do you see, considering the fundamentals are quite strong?
Morning, Sonia. So I think Equitas has a few points going in its favor in the right manner. So the first point, probably getting the bank license, the small bank payment license, definitely will help its cost of borrowing go down drastically from the current interest rate scenario that it is currently borrowing. Secondly, I think if you look at their core business model now, microfinance, which was a dominant portion a few years back, has now come down to that 53-54% as a contributor to the top line. The used vehicle financing and MSE business has basically contributed significantly over the past few years. So on a compounded basis, that business has actually grown 125% close to 2,341, 2,350 odd crores. What has happened with the microfinance business over the past few years? It has grown at a pace of 45%, and again the assets under management close to around 2,950 odd crores holds it in good stead. What happens with the asset quality? 0.2% NPAs for the microfinance business, 2.4, 2.5% for the used vehicle and MSE financing business. The NIMs are pretty good as well, 11.1, 12.5%, ROE is 13%, ROA is 3%. So I think everything is going right, and even in absolute numbers for the entire year FY15, it posted an NII growth of, in fact, an NII of around 401 odd crores. For 9 months FY16, it's already done 420 odd crores. In net profit basis for the full year FY15, around 107 odd crores, it's already done 120 odd crores. So I think there is a huge amount of scope when I look at the entire business model of Equitas, and even at the top end of 110 rupees in the price band that it was probably getting quoted, it quoted around 1.8 times price to book, around 60 rupees book value. So clearly I think if you look at microfinance players, this player should do pretty well over the next few quarters. The numbers are very encouraging so far. So I think a positive listing is what I expect from Equitas, but I think that rub-off effect should also be seen on stocks like SKS Microfinance.
Okay, we will come back to you with more questions. We haven't finished the list of stocks that our technical experts have for us. So to come back to that part, Sudarshan, you have Colgate as well on your list, Jubilant.
Yeah, quickly. Colgate is a long-term, well, it's a positional trade. A very nice accumulation is now breaking on the upside. Buy it, of course, for the short term, but if you want to make a positional trade out of it, that's a good idea. Stay with it. Jubilant Food is a much shorter trade. It's also breaking out. Maybe in the next 5, 10, 15 days, it will give us some good rewards. It's not as long-term as Colgate, but both are buying opportunities. You know, Lata, mid-caps are just breaking out. There's a lot more upside, generally.
Okay. So Patanjali or no Patanjali, Colgate does well.
Okay, and finally, Prakash, did we miss out on any of your stocks? L&T, I think, is the big one that you've chosen.
Yes, Sonia. L&T, certainly I like it. I like the base formation. I like the structure. Looks like it's for a long haul. For a short term, I have a target of around 1290, but I think it should be held for a longer time. Maybe we can see levels closer to 1350 and 1400 zones. It's a beautiful stock, given a good breakout, had a good consolidation, stayed above it. It's an inching forward move. For a short term, I would say tight stop below 1247 should be just fine for a day or two.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that. I think we're done with the stocks that you all have given us, but we have a lot of other questions as well for you, gentlemen. Mayuresh, wanted to ask you about this banking story. There are a couple of things that's going for the banking stocks yesterday. Okay, I think we'll have to get back to Mayuresh in a minute. Just want to pull up the Asian indices for you. Asian indices actually have been doing very well. Sonia alerted you to that, but it's a fairly significant move that you are seeing in the Asian indices. Nikkei up almost 2%. The Hang Seng as well up 1.4%. Shanghai, okay, it's a tepid red that you're seeing over there, but nevertheless, most of the indices are indicating green to a bright green. So that should keep the SGX Nifty somewhat hydrated. SGX Nifty is also showing about 0.5% gain. So fairly decent going over there. Do we have Manisha with us? Okay, all right. Mayuresh is with us, so let's get to Manisha after we finish this question to Mayuresh on banks. Mayuresh, I was asking you whether you would want to go with any of the banks. Yesterday we had this big reversal coming from Credit Suisse saying that they're going positive on steel. Separately, their steel report said they don't see the prices dropping below 400, at least in this FY. So do you think that bodes well for banks, the lenders? As well, today's news that we got confirmed, some of the companies are going off the AQR list, at least for Q4.
Not really sure of which companies are going off the AQR list.
I am sure that JP Associates and JP Infratech are among them. That is confirmed. But I must warn, it is for this quarter. Q4 they don't have to provide.
So yes, largely I think if they do not have to provide for that, it incrementally means that the addition to the NPAs becomes that much lesser, which means that the provisioning also becomes lesser, and that incrementally adds to the bottom line for a whole host of banks who basically lend it to these two groups. My own take is with the steel industry, metals generally showing some amount of respite with the imposition of MIP and the safeguard duties that have been rolled out by the government. I think there must be some end realizations that will improve for the whole host of these steel companies, which should put a lot of the constraints on working capital that they are facing to rest. So clearly I think any recovery on that front definitely adds incrementally to the earnings for a lot of banks which have exposure towards this sector, and a whole host of banks have exposure. So yes, incrementally positive in terms of how the book might pan out for a whole host of these banks. And as I've always maintained, I think I've maintained my positive view on the larger private sector banks and the larger public sector banks, where our belief is that the earnings from FY17 onwards should have a greater trajectory going forward, because all the parameters probably are working in their favor. Capital adequacy is quite bright for them. They've got a healthy mix of CASA, and with an improved economic situation, both in terms of a capex recovery expected to come through and credit growth expected to recover, these banks probably are poised for better earnings growth and balance sheet expansion compared to the smaller PSU banks, where the valuations are very, very attractive, but the concerns about asset quality still persist.
Okay, well, let's do one thing. Let's take a break from equities for a bit and talk about the commodity space, because crude has moved up significantly, sitting at a 2016 high. But Manisha is here to give us a roundup of all the action in that space. Hi, Manisha. Morning.
Hi, morning. Thank you so much for that, Sonia. Well, yes, the crude oil prices have run up and about. We've seen 4 to 5% gains coming in for crude and many of those varieties in the New York session yesterday, and Asia has taken up from there. So the crude oil prices are trading above $45 when it comes to Brent. You have the weak US dollar, the US weekly inventories declined while the markets were expecting that to be neutral. So you had the gas prices gained up by 5%, the distillate prices gained up by 4.5% as well. So good going as far as the energy sector is concerned. The only thing to watch out for is the Russia statements, where they said that they would pump up their production, and there perhaps is yet another meeting of all oil producers in May in Russia. That's an event to watch out for now. But having said that, you guys were discussing metals, and that's yet another area which has seen fresh highs continuing today. If you look at the iron ore prices, they are at a fresh 10-month highs. $64 per ton is how that one is trading right now. And after Rio Tinto, BHP Billiton also has cut the production forecast for 2016, saying that's the bad weather and rail production is something that would continue to pull the production lower, and that's taking the prices higher. Take a look at the non-ferrous metals, and aluminum prices are trading at a 6-month high. You have zinc trading at a 10-month highs, and the copper prices are up 2% in Shanghai. That one is trading at a 4-week highs as well. The silver prices seem to be taking cues from the base metals, a fresh 11-month highs coming in for that one, and silver prices now are up 24% for this calendar year.
Wow, so equities is being put into shade actually. really by the performance in the commodity space. Okay, let's give you some more trading ideas. Our Super 6 guys are here with their trading strategies.
I would recommend Mindtree to go short today, as this stock has attracted some profit taking from higher levels yesterday and it is likely to show some more weakness today. Sell as long as it stays above 730. Stop loss should be maintained above 735. Targets 710, 700.
Today's our first recommendation is GAIL. The stock gave a breakout of triangular pattern, and before that the stock consolidated well for 3 to 4 trading session. So from current juncture we expect upside till the level of 390, maintaining a stop loss of 362. One can initiate a long position.
My first stock call for the day will be a buy on Motherson Sumi Systems. The stock did really well in yesterday's trade, and I expect for the momentum there to continue. One can buy the stock with a target of 270 and with a stop loss at 263.
Second stock would be BHEL, and I would recommend a buy call in this stock today. This stock is forming a pennant formation on its daily chart, and I am expecting it to stage a breakout today on the upside. Buy as long as it holds above 130. Put a stop below 129.50. Targets for the day would be 136, 137.
Our second trading idea is Allahabad Bank. The stock was facing a resistance of 89-day exponential moving average. On a previous trading session, the stock decisively crossed the resistance even on a closing basis. So we expect a further upside till the level of 63. One can initiate long position maintaining a stop below 55 level.
My second stock pick will be a buy on JSW Steel. The stock has been outperforming the market. We saw a big rally in almost all steel stocks in yesterday's trade. I expect for the momentum here to continue. Buy with a target of 1400, place a stop loss at 1350, go long.
Okay, so those are some trading ideas for you. The Asian markets have been picking up pace. In fact, the Nikkei market is now up almost 2% and a couple of the other markets as well are following suit. Shanghai has recovered too and is trading in the green. So brace yourselves for some green on our screens as well. Mayuresh, the space to be in the last fortnight has clearly been cement stocks with names like Heidelberg, Ultratech, Ramco all sitting at fresh highs. Anything from that space that you're buying now?
I've always liked Ultratech among the large cap names, Sonia, and we've discussed this a lot of times on your channel. And our own take is that with the kind of acquisitions that Ultratech is going through at the current juncture, if you look at the FY17 capacities, which will come up in excess of 91 MTPA, you're probably expected to see cement demand at that point of time increase exponentially. Because if one really assumes GDP to grow at 7.5%, the GDP multiplier effect for cement demand is 1.5 times. So with that perspective, I think a lot of these cement stocks which have a pan-India presence should do well. Secondly, I think with volume coming back, the realization should start improving. The utilization levels have already started picking up. The kind of government focus that one really expects on housing, infrastructure should benefit players like Ultratech. From our own take is even on a blended basis, EBITDA to ton basis, Ultratech should do exceedingly well over the next 2 to 3 years. So investors holding on to stocks like Ultratech should continue holding on to that. And even these small niche players who are operating out of the southern zone or southern India rather, I think these stocks should do rather well as well, because again I think with pick up an activity happening on that front, you'll probably see expectations of volume demand going up, which will again have a positive impact both on their volumes and end realization. So I think these southern based players, in my opinion, in the mid cap pack should also continue doing well.
Okay, well, we'll watch out for all those stocks, but for the moment, let's also take a look at what's happening in the derivative space. Mangala Malu is here to give us an idea of how things are stacked up there. Mangala.
Well, positive cues coming in from the derivative space, Lata, because if you look at it, yesterday's consolidation on the Nifty did mean that the FIs actually increased their exposure on the long side, bought about 1300 crores worth in index futures itself. In the index options also, there was a sell figure of close to 1152 crores, which was primarily directed towards writing index puts, which is a bullish sign itself. Not just that, they added about 10,000 contracts on the long side in index calls calls as well. The 8,000 call should come up for you. That one shed some open interest, but still is the highest call build-up in terms of open interest. So that level could see some amount of hurdles for the Nifty. But there was put writing seen at 7,900 as well as call writing seen at 8,100, indicating that perhaps the expiry range could be 78.50 to 81.50, at least as far as the next few trading sessions are concerned. Take a look at individual stocks. The metal stocks saw some gains. So if there were fresh longs seen on Vedanta, JSPL as well as Tata Steel. Fresh longs also seen on the banking names like Allahabad Bank as well as IOB. There was short covering seen in TV18, Broadcast and Page Industries. Both of them spiked in yesterday's trading session, while fresh shorts seen in some underperformers like Idea Cellular, LIC Housing Finance and Torrent Pharma.
Mangalam, thanks for that. So that's the action in the derivatives market. We have about some more time, about less than 10 minutes to go before the pre-opening rates kick in. So let's get some more questions from our guests. Ashwini, a lot of mid-cap, non-index large caps have been hitting new highs. So, names like Biocon, Havels, TVS Motor, Heidelberg Cement. Anything that you'd want to trade today?
See, the difficulty now is that these things have moved so far away from short-term moving averages that at any point in time they could get into a correction, but these are strong stocks and from an intraday perspective you would tend to get into them. But overall I don't think Havels or Biocon or even M&M Financial, like we saw yesterday, M&M Financial had a down day. So all of a sudden, these stocks will start having down days. So they are not as attractive buys as they were earlier, but surely on a correction, these are the stocks you get into.
Okay, point taken. Well, actually, Amit Gupta has joined us from ICICI Direct. Amit, good morning. How are the stakes stacked up for the F&O space in the Nifty? Would you go long?
The options, we have seen that 8,100 call option has added almost around 15-17 lakh shares, and 7,800 and 7,900 put options they have seen writing. In fact, in the last session, 7,900 put option added around 13 lakh shares. So definitely the momentum is building up, but we have already moved up substantially. So I am keeping a stop loss at 78.50 for this momentum for the expiry perspective. If Nifty comes below 78.50 levels, then I think there will be a high chance of Nifty expiring close to the volume weighted average price of the series, which is placed around 77.70, 77.80 levels. So move below 78.50 means the momentum for the expiry will be off. Otherwise, stock specific momentum we are already seeing, and that will continue. Possibly the oversold stocks also may also start participating in the market, because the market is not going to tank that much.
Okay, so let's talk about some stock ideas that you have. You have a buy on Titan Futures and on Jubilant Food Futures today.
See, among the consumption story, we believe Titan has already spent around 6 to 7 months in the range of 320 to 340. So overall it has made a very good base around these levels. And if you look at the open interest positions, around 52% of open interest has already been closed in the stock. It was amongst various news flows in the last few months. So I think whatever shorts were there, eventually, because the stock was not fallen, the shorts have already been closed. It started the uptrend series with a 3-year lower open interest. So that means at least from the F&O front, the problem of leverage closure is not there with the stock now. And that is why I think the downside seems to be limited. From here on, the fresh additions are likely to take the stock higher, and we are keeping a target around 425 on the higher side. I think the another stock, Jubilant Food, it may be a good short covering candidate for the expiry perspective. The stock has been hovering around 1250 to 1290 levels. My sense is it should move towards 1390 eventually. Now we have seen a good base formation around 1250 already in the stock, and around 37% of short closure we have seen in this. So it is again because from 2012 onwards, if you look at in the last 4 years, whenever it has come down to 1000 or 1100 levels, eventually from there it has given almost 30 to 50% of move. So I think a good amount of upside is possible in the stock. So the first target remains around 1400.
All right. Thank you very much, Amit Gupta, for joining us with your Nifty strategy and your stock-specific strategies. We have to take a mandatory break. We are going to be back in a couple of minutes, and it will be time for the pre-opening rates as well. Welcome back. The markets are still a few minutes off, a few seconds off opening. That's the SGX Nifty for you, about 0.5% higher is what it's indicating. Just to revise the view, Ashwini, what will be the trade on the Nifty? You go long after what level?
See, in case we open above, say, 7965 on the Nifty futures, I think that would trigger a long call, because that would be opening above yesterday's high. That's very significant, because that means that somebody is such a strong buyer that he's decided that he's going to open above yesterday's high, so we are not going to trade within the range of yesterday. So above 7965, if you sustain for the first 10 to 15 minutes, I think it would be time to go long, and you should expect some sort of a trend day, because everybody who went short yesterday will now rush to cover, and that will propel the market higher.
Okay. Well, at the moment, the pre-opening bids are with us, and it was a confused market. We had one red tick and one green tick, but now both the Sensex and the Nifty are moving in tandem, and there is about a 0.25% rise in the Nifty, 793435 as we speak, 794245 now. Well, I must caution that these are bids, but nevertheless, it's looking like the markets will start on a stronger note, going by the early morning bids. Well, let's just look at Wipro. That's the stock. Well, it's not showing too much of a cut at this point in time, and I think that could be because of the buyback price. We'll have to wait and see. Bharti Infratel continues to belabor. That is a Nisha Podar exclusive. She told you all yesterday, well before the market, that Bharti is looking to sell some of its shares in Bharti Infratel, and therefore that overhang is there on the Bharti Infratel stock. But among others, I don't know if we should commit to any view at this point in time. Infosys, ICICI, the banks are starting stronger and Wipro is starting lower, 2.5%. Beyond that, I doubt we should say anything.
It also seems like the metal space could continue its up move from yesterday. Remember, stocks like Tata Steel and Hindalco are up about 12 to 15% this month, and Tata Steel is showing another green tick. In the broader markets, names like SAIL, Uttam Galva, etc. are up. They may not be up about 10 to 15% as the pre-opening rates are suggesting, but the trend is on the upside. Also, some of these jewelry stocks are on the upside as well. TBZ, Gitanjali, Gems and Titan are a couple of stocks that you should look at. As Manisha was telling us a while back, gold jewelry exporters could get duty-free gold from banks and from nominated agencies. That will be a positive for them. Sanjeev Agarwal of Gitanjali Exports joins us now to talk about that. Sanjeev, hi, good morning. Can you just explain this to us? If indeed gold exporters are allowed to get duty-free gold from banks, how much of a positive could it be?
See, we'll have to go through exact details of what the Commerce Ministry is